Hey, what's up everyone? So I've answered so many of your questions already on my Instagram and TikTok pages at Peter Coles Languages, but obviously on my stories I can't give you as much detail as I'd like to. So today I've decided to make my first full YouTube video where I'm going to answer the questions you've given me. So let's go. The first question comes from Arson, who says, how many languages do you know? Well, this is a difficult question to answer because what does it mean to speak a language? You could be able to communicate in a language at a basic level, or do you have to speak a language absolutely fluently? I always answer this question with 25 because I would say that I can speak about 25 languages, meaning I can communicate with the average person and understand almost everything they're saying in those 25 languages. But obviously there are other languages I can speak to a much basic level, and of those 25 languages, only a few of them I can speak close to a native speaker level. The next question comes from Free Spirit, who asks, which is the first foreign language you mastered? Well, that depends on which language is a foreign language, because as a child I grew up speaking both English and German. So would we say that German was the foreign language? I wouldn't. I would say that the first foreign language I learnt was French. When I was around 3 years old, I went to France for the first time and I really enjoyed listening to a language that I didn't understand, and I became obsessed with it and I wanted to learn what they were saying. So at a very young age, I started learning French. The second language was probably Dutch. So when I was 8 years old, I went to the Netherlands for the first time. And the same thing happened. I could understand a lot of what the people were saying, because I could speak English and German already, I could understand a lot of what they were saying, but I couldn't understand everything they were saying. So at the age of 8, I decided to learn Dutch. And around about the age of 10 or 12, maybe 11, I decided to learn Italian, which in the end became one of my favorite languages. Daniel asked, in which order did you learn your languages? Well, as I said already, I learned English, German, French, Dutch, and Italian as a child. And after that, it becomes a little bit more complicated. I'd say that the next language I learned would have been Spanish when I started university around the age of 18. At university, I also studied many other languages, including Chinese and Japanese, but I didn't learn them to absolute fluency. After that, the first Slavic language I learnt was Czech when I moved to the Czech Republic about 8 years ago. And after that, all the other Slavic languages came much quicker. I learned Russian, and then Polish, and then Ukrainian, and all the other Slavic languages. And today I'd say I'm able to communicate in almost every European language. Alex asked, what is your favorite language you've learned? Well, as I said before, my favorite language is probably Italian. I fell in love with the Italian language when I was a child. I decided to go to university in Italy. I went to the University of Perugia to study Italian, and I also worked in the Venice region for about a year. I'm not sure why I love the Italian language so much. I think it's possibly because I love the country so much. I enjoyed my time there very much, but I also like the way the language sounds. I like the people there. I like the pace of life. I love the history. I love the culture. Basically love everything about Italy, the weather included. That's probably why Italian is my favorite language. Danny asked, which language changed your life and when you learnt it? Well, all of the languages I've learned changed my life in some way, but the language that changed my life the most in recent years probably is Russian. Now, ironically, I learned Russian mostly when I was living in Ukraine, although I had a Russian course a few years before that. But when I came to the Ukraine and I started learning Russian and I did classes also in the Czech Republic, I learned the language very quickly, and now arguably I've reached a C1 level in Russian, which is an advanced level. The reason why Russian has changed my life so much is because it's the language I now use on a daily basis, arguably more than English itself. I definitely use Russian more than Czech, although I live in the Czech Republic. I'm in a city surrounded by Russian speakers, especially from places like the Ukraine or from Kazakhstan, and it's the language I come in contact with more than any other. All my friends, all the people I work with speak Russian. All the places I go out to are full of Russian speakers, the restaurants, the bars. And everyone around me I know because I can speak Russian. So in many ways, it's the language which has changed my life the most in the past few years. TMCG asked, what is your favorite thing about learning languages? The reason why I love languages so much is because I'm able to communicate with people. The most important thing is being able to understand them and speak to them. It's that connection with people that I really enjoy. I know a lot of people love languages because of the literature or the culture, but really for me, it's about the human contact. Johan asked, what are your thoughts about the Hebrew script? Well, I can read the Hebrew script, but I can't speak Hebrew myself. It's not one of the 25 languages I can speak. And I'm not sure if I'll be learning Hebrew in the near future. Obviously, as I've said, I can speak almost every European language, but I feel that over the next few years, I should be focusing on other languages such as Turkish, Arabic, which is spoken by millions of people across the Middle East. And then after that, I should go to Asian languages. So I'll probably start studying Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Thai, Vietnamese, and Indonesian. Maybe one day I will learn Hebrew, but I don't think I'll be doing it in the next 10 years. And finally, Ada asks. Now, Ada is a girl who often comments on my Instagram posts, and she, with a lot of energy and passion, writes about her love for sign language and explains how to say the words I discuss in sign language, which I really appreciate, of course. She asks, ever learned any of the 300 plus sign languages, and do you plan to learn any? Well, I don't speak or I cannot communicate in any sign languages, but I've always had a question about sign languages. Why does every country have a different sign language? Why doesn't the whole world decide to speak with one sign language and maybe it will become like a superpower? Possibly the answer is because sign language is used to speak with native speakers of that language, and there are grammatical concepts to get across which you can't do in every language. But I've always thought, why aren't basic words communicated the same way, such as the word for dog or the word for light or sun or day? Why did all the sign languages have different words for this? Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but I've always wanted to know this. Maybe you could let me know in the comments. And the second answer to the second question is, well, I'm not sure if I'll learn any sign languages. I might do one day, but now my passion is learning every spoken language. And once I've done that, hopefully in the next few decades, then maybe I will move on to a sign language. Anyway, thank you for being here on my first video. I've really appreciated all your questions and enjoyed answering all of them. If you have any more questions, please send them to me on my social media. I'm most active on my Instagram, and I often have question and answer sessions on my stories, so feel free to write a question there and I'll answer them on my next video soon. See ya!